Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, good people of the algorithm. How are you doing? I hope that your week was everything that you wanted it or needed it to be. You made it to the weekend, and I hope you have a great, healthy, and safe weekend. I have 3 more cases for you today, guys, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Enjoy it. But I want to say, I have good news for you. The sample for the Corner Boys sweatshirt has actually came to my house, and I want to show you guys. So this is the Corner Boy for men Corner Boy sweatshirt. If you like to purchase from my store and be a part of the Corner Boy in the corner community with the corner girls. So if you want that, it is now available. This is very good texture. It's soft and it doesn't change color after 2 to 3 washes, because I had washed this to see if it would actually fade out. But look how really dark it is. So it's really good material. So if you're interested in it, that is now available on my store. And shout out to the few people stopping in. Hi, Mirror Meditation. How are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Let's see. 250 Josh, 250, yeah, 2505 Josh. Hi, how are you doing, sir? Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you. And thank you for your compliment. Let's see. Camshaft. How are you doing, sir? No, I'm not AI. I'm really not. I think if it was AI, if I was AI, I think I'll look a whole lot better, but I'm not AI. But shout out to you, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Oh, hi, Billy. Thank you so much. How you doing? Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Not asked. I'm sorry, that's not available. Sorry about that. Let's see. Extras, adventures. Nope, not Lauryn Hill, but wasn't she a great singer when she was out here? Shout out to you, sir. Thank you for stopping by. Let's see, Millie. Thank you for stopping by. I don't really know what that says, but I think it says thank you for. I'm not sure what the other part is, but thank you. I appreciate you for stopping by. I really do. And Bryce, how are you doing, sir? Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by. I truly do. All right. So, guys and ladies and gents, I hope that you enjoy these 3 cases that I have for you today. The first one that we're going to start off with, it was a person who was a suspect of a murder. He was kind of tricked into basically testing or scoring his own lie detector test, which kind of made him led to actually eventually telling the detectives the truth. And this is a very sad story because it has to do with an unaliving of a woman who seemed like she was very beautiful. She seemed like she was a beauty queen, a beauty pageant queen. And the story in itself is kind of like traumatizing. So just viewers beware. If you don't like stuff like that, I totally understand. But I do want to review this going forward, okay? He said I thought it looked like an AI. I'm telling you, if I was AI, I'll look so much better. Really, seriously. All right, so let's get into it.
Hi, I'm Sasha from 407apartments.com, and I am this year's Education Committee Chair. Thank you so much for attending today's class.
This is 27-year-old Sasha Samsudian, a graduate from the University of Florida, who later became a social media manager well known for her bubbly and charismatic personality. A professional during the week who still enjoyed to party with her friends on the weekend. Over the course of this video's 43-minute running time, we are going to analyze the mysterious events that led up to the tragic murder of this young lady. While doing so, we are going to outline each step that she took throughout her final evening by walking you through the copious amounts of surveillance footage that nearly caught her each and every move on camera. We will also break down the multiple interrogations, polygraph tests, and subsequent legal aftermath that took place throughout and following this investigation. And as we've seen in another video on this channel, this case is also commonly referred to as a crime caught almost entirely on camera. On October 17th, 2015, Sasha and a small group of friends were having a night out in downtown Orlando. One of their first stops was at the Attic nightclub. Sasha's friend Anthony said Sasha was ready to leave
Hey,
just
good
after
to see you.
midnight
Thank
at
you for coming
around
by again.
12:30 a.m. Instead of leaving with her, Anthony said that it was common for them to separate, go to other bars, and meet back up later. So that's what they did. Strangely, Anthony did not hear from Sasha again that night, but was still expecting to go out to breakfast with her the next morning. As the next morning approached, there was still no sign of Sasha. When her friends tried to contact her, there was no reply. Anthony and two of Sasha's other friends became increasingly concerned, so they headed on their way to Sasha's apartment to check up on her. Once they arrived at Sasha's building, known as the Uptown Apartments, they immediately spotted her car parked in her usual parking spot. In the back seat, they could see a present that they were aware she was planning to take to a baby shower later that day. They then went directly to her apartment, knocked on the door, and called out to her. There was no answer, so Anthony called the police.
Hi, I need to fill out a missing persons report. We went to her apartment to go check. She's there, and she's not.
And what is her first name?
Her first name is Sasha.
Officers quickly arrived at Sasha's apartment. They walked through the kitchen and living room, which appeared to be tidy and undisturbed. They then entered her bedroom. Sasha's arm and hair could then be seen poking out from underneath her bedding. When the officers lifted the blankets, they found Sasha deceased, with severe bruising to her neck and obvious.
Such a beautiful woman. Look at that woman. Look at that woman. Such a beautiful woman. Very intriguing eyes and everything. And she's no longer with us. And it's been quite some time, really. Let's go on. Let's find out what happened to her.
Signs of strangulation. An investigation immediately went underway. Investigators noted 6 strange observations while searching the apartment. The first was an incredibly strong odor resonating from the bedroom, similar to that of bleach and Pine Sol, a multi-purpose cleaner. Some discolored bedding near her body, which appeared to have been the result of reckless bleaching. And they found Sasha's toilet seat was left up. This was particularly strange, as Sasha lived alone and was not known to have any men in her apartment recently. On the toilet seat lid, investigators found a set of fingerprints. The fourth observation was found using
Hi,
luminol
Joanne.
and
Good
a
to see
swab.
you. Thank you so
Investigators
much. I
located
appreciate it, darling.
DNA
Thank
from an
you so much.
unidentified man on Sasha's body. The fifth was a used condom wrapper lying on the floor behind the garbage can. And the sixth was a dirty shoe print left on her kitchen floor that was far too big to be from her own shoes. This is where things get interesting.
Rashima.
Investigators
Thanks for
began to
stopping by.
scour
First time
all of
seeing
the
you.
areas that Sasha had traveled through that evening, hoping to find surveillance footage that caught Sasha's movements. After speaking to the apartment complex security, they managed to acquire the footage from security cameras located on each.
So off the back from the story, right? You would think that she, they said that she never brought men over to her house, right? So she wasn't that type of girl, right? But it would make it seem by having the condom, the bleaching spots on the beds, her room smelling like bleach and stuff. They're gonna think foul play, and they probably think that it could have been somebody that she was dating or somebody that she met up with. But what I'm thinking when they gave that information that, there is no boyfriend, they ain't say anything about a boyfriend yet. She doesn't have a history of bringing strange men inside of her house. Then I'm thinking that when she went home, somebody followed her into the house, right? And kind of like pushed her in. We those kind of home invasions, right? And there's a lot of that happens up in these cities, bigger cities, right? New York City, Florida, Houston, parts in LA, where people will push into your house while you're walking up there just to turn your key to get into your house. And I think that that's what happens. So I'm kind of glad that we do have a lot of cameras, especially where she was living. There was a lot of cameras in the hallway and stuff like that, so they could see exactly what happened. Because just off of that, with all that evidence, and they didn't have cameras, the detectives would be looking for a boyfriend or be looking for some male suitor that she was in a relationship with. But that could not be the case. That could be somebody who just literally was scoping her outside, waited until she got in, kept a good distance. And as soon as she opened the door, they bum rushed her in. And then it doesn't look like false entry, right? Because she used her key to get in the house. So let's go on.
Each floor of the apartment building. These cameras were facing the hallways, stairwells, and the exits. They also managed to acquire the security footage from several street cameras along Sasha's 10-block trip home along Orange Avenue in downtown Orlando. Investigators started by reviewing the footage from the Attic nightclub, where they could clearly see Sasha wearing her white pants and purple shirt walking home from the bar. Sasha could be seen walking alone and slightly stumbling. She is then seen running, but disappears after there was a glitch in the first tape. 6 seconds later, Sasha can be seen again, but now she is with 2 other women. At 1:46 a.m., Sasha can then be seen going into her apartment building. Another man, who turned out to be a concerned resident, asks her if she is okay. Sasha replies yes, and then continues on her way. Sasha can be seen again at 2:06 a.m. For some reason, she appears to be running up the stairs, followed by the building security guard, Stephen Duxbury. At 2:25 a.m., Sasha can be seen one more time. The security guard is still with her. The two appeared to be walking to and from the first floor of the garage. Less than a minute later, they return through the same doors and head back into the building. It is likely that Sasha made a mistake, leading Stephen and herself to the wrong floor of the garage, as less than 5 minutes later, the two can be seen walking into the garage on the 3rd floor instead. They then re-enter the building together again. About 2.5 hours later, Stephen Duxbury appears to head back to work. These are the last moments that Sasha Samsudian was seen alive. After reviewing all of this footage, investigators made it a priority to speak to each of the parties witnessed alongside Sasha that evening. They first briefly questioned the security guard, Stephen Duxbury. Stephen said that he saw Sasha that night because she was trying to get into the building.
You came in contact with a female resident?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's talk about that. What time did that occur?
It happened approximately about 0200 in the morning.
Can you describe her?
Shorter young lady, looked at the time possibly Hispanic or Pacific Islander maybe, dark hair.
What was her physical condition?
She appeared to be very intoxicated.
Okay. And why do you say
that? She was stumbling, she at some points...
So before I go on, it's quite annoying, right? When the videos that they was able to produce into Discovery, they showed that the security guard was going to maybe 2 different levels of the garages of that building. I think that she was looking for something, maybe even looking for her keys or her car, who knows, right? But obviously she was drinking, so she was a little under the influence, right? In the beginning, they showed her literally opening up her key and getting into her house or closing the door before she met up with the security guard. So my thing is, why won't they show when the security guard walked her to her door and her getting inside her home, right? Why is that video not available? Is only a video of the security guard leaving the hallway after he escorted her to her home. Those are the questions I were asked. But let's go on.
Didn't even seem to hear anyone asking her questions or even talking to her. She was like hyper focused on what she was trying to do. She, thought maybe she left her keys at her car, so she asked me if I would walk with her out to the parking garage so she could try and get the keys out of her car. So I walked with her, and we went out, and we didn't even go to any car because about maybe 5 steps out, she's like, "Wait, I think I remember the code now." And then I'm like, "Okay," so we go back in. I then bring her back to the thing. She starts trying to punch in codes again, still not working. At this point, I'm like, I have to do, I got to keep doing my job and got to do another sweep. So I'm like, okay, you stay here and keep trying to do this. I'm going to go do another sweep. And if I come back and you're still not in your apartment, we're going to have to figure out how to deal with the situation.
According to Steven, this is where they parted ways and Sasha headed back to her door to attempt to gain entry herself. Something quite strange, though, is that after the second trip to the garage, which Steven seems to gloss over, it almost appears as though Sasha had her keys in hand as they re-enter the building.
Correct. And that's what I saw. That's why I asked, where is the footage of when they got to her apartment and he escorted her to the apartment? That would prove anything, prove anything of him being guilty if they could see him actually making sure she got in to her apartment with her keys and he walked off. But there's no footage of that. Where's the footage?
Strange indeed. Anyways, investigators were unable to identify the 2 women that were seen walking with Sasha on Orange Avenue that night, so they released the surveillance alongside enhanced photographs and were quickly contacted by the 2 women. These 2 went on to state that they had only spoken with Sasha that night as they were trying to help her avoid some men that appeared to be creeping her out as she stumbled out of the bar by herself. They offered her a ride to her apartment and then stayed outside with her until she was allowed in by the neighbor. They were concerned that Sasha would not be able to get in, as Sasha had told them that she didn't have her key fob or her cell phone. Once Sasha was allowed in, the 2 left.
You guys know her? Or
No, we were downtown on Friday night, but as we were leaving, saw her walking by herself, and was very concerned, just because she seemed extremely intoxicated. And there was a car of men who had rolled down their window and started to talk to her. I walked up and kind of took her arm and said, like, "Do you know where you're going?" And you could tell she didn't really know what was going on. And so at that moment got her to get into an Uber with us.
How certain are you that it's her? Pretty
100%.
Okay. You remember what she was wearing?
Yes. White jeans and a purple shirt.
Although this conversation did not provide investigators with any information about who the perpetrator could be, it did clear these 2 of any further suspicion. It also forced the investigators to think a little bit more outside the box, as we now have confirmation that Sasha was at a level of intoxication that made it very difficult for her to have any clear judgment. This made it more tedious to eliminate anybody as a potential suspect, as Sasha may have unknowingly welcomed somebody with bad intentions into her apartment while she wasn't thinking clearly. Investigators then spoke to Sasha's most recent ex-boyfriends. This is because statistics show that murder by strangulation is most commonly committed by an ex-partner or scorned lover, as it is usually regarded as a crime of passion. The first ex-boyfriend interrogated was a bartender by the name Taylor. Taylor stated that he and Sasha were no longer exclusive. However, they did have a relationship in the past and they still talked. He stated that he was at work until 9:30 p.m. that Friday night, and they did not meet up after his shift ended.
It's going to be a statement from Taylor Unsinger. He's a white male, date of birth. I'm just taking my own part. I'm taking the statement. Statement be taken here at the Atlanta Police Department when CID.
Not only that, Wasu, because Wasu said these 2 the women, they could not be suspects due to the time frame they last saw her. Not only that, they also told the detective that there was a group of men in a car who was hollering and watching her movements because they knew that she was heavily intoxicated, and that's why they reacted as to grab her arm and walk with her, act like she's not here by herself, she's not walking by herself, to lure him off. That's a detour technique, right? It's a tactic to deter off anyone who would do something or think that they could take advantage of someone who's in a vulnerable state. This is terrible. Let's go on. Such a beautiful lady.
Room number 7. Also present is Detective Brian Ferreira. Case number is 2015-428-101. It's for a homicide. Today's date is October 24th, 2015, and statement will begin at 8:44 a.m. Taylor, could you raise your right hand? Okay, Taylor. Prior to going on tape, I informed you that I'm investigating a homicide. Let me show you this picture. Do you know what this is?
Yep.
Okay, and who is this? How do you know?
We dated for a little over 2 years.
Okay. And you, boyfriend, girlfriend?
Yes.
You guys live together?
No.
Okay. Was there any talk of marriage?
Yes, we did talk about marriage a couple times. Yeah.
Okay. Was it an exclusive relationship?
Definitely exclusive.
Now, when's the last time you heard from?
I heard from her on Friday morning. We had a conversation Thursday evening, late, and then just finishing the conversation Friday morning on Facebook.
Okay. And what was the content of those conversations?
We were just talking about a podcast we listened to in California when we were driving
I
up.
appreciate it.
Okay. When was the last time you actually seen her?
Hey, Chaos. How you doing?
I saw her October 1st. We went out for Lindsay Rodriguez's birthday for dinner.
Thank you.
And who is Lindsay?
Lindsay's a mutual friend. I used to work with her at the Vineyard, and she struck up a friendship with her and her husband, Bo, Stefan.
Was there any talk about trying to get back together?
We didn't really talk about it, but
Yeah,
it was something that I always thought that we would,
Okay.
down the road.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you this. Were you at the apartment October 16th, 17th, which was either Friday night, Saturday morning, which was last week?
No.
Do you know where you were last Saturday?
Last Saturday,
Yes.
I was at work
Okay.
in the morning, or
Around 1 o'clock in the morning.
Let's say late Friday evening or early
I was
Saturday
home.
morning.
I was home. I got off of work Friday night at about 9:30. I had bartended because
I've
there
been
were some
well,
bartenders
Diamond.
that
How
needed
you
to take
been?
some
Thank
time
you so
off,
much
so
for asking.
I
I
picked up a
appreciate
shift
it.
for them, and I went home, and I had my parents over. I had just got a couch delivered that day, so I was excited to go home and hang out, and I went to bed at about 1 o'clock that night.
Okay.
I had to work early, about 10 o'clock on Saturday, and I had to open and close the restaurant, so I wanted to make sure that
Okay.
I got rest.
Okay. Did you have any involvement in the murder?
No, sir.
Do you know who murdered?
No, sir.
Do you have any problem giving us a buccal swab of DNA?
I have no problem.
Okay. This statement will end at 8:54 a.m.
He let the investigators take a DNA sample, and he was quickly ruled out. The next man that they interrogated was an ex-boyfriend named Ben. Ben was considered a suspect because Sasha texted him at exactly 5:12 a.m.,
Victoria,
which was her last
thank you for
message
coming
sent.
back.
The
Shout out
message
to
she sent him
Texas.
was
How
only
you
one
doing?
word: Ben. Ben stated that he and Sasha briefly dated and were supposed to hang out that
I
weekend,
understand, Diamond.
but
I
it
understand.
did not
I
end
hope
up
you feel
happening.
better this weekend.
It's going to be a statement from Ben
Hi, Jen. How you
Benjamin
doing?
Robach. Today's date is October 20th, 2015. The case number is 2015-428-101.
What's up,
The statement
Birdie?
will
Thank you for
begin
coming, and I
at
appreciate the compliment.
6:29 p.m. Ben, could you raise your right hand? Ben, let me show you this picture. Do you know who this is?
Yes, I do.
Who's that person? How do you know?
We went to high school together. We were boyfriend and girlfriend for a couple years back in college, and still friends and acquaintances up until she died, passed away.
What was your relationship prior to her death?
Yeah, I mean, we'd hang out every so often. You know, we'd meet up, downtown somewhere and hang out and grab a drink. She'd come over sometimes. You know, if I was having a tough day, she'd give me some advice, and we'd hang out and talk. And so we were close friends. She was there to support me when I needed it, and vice versa. So, yeah.
When was the last time you've seen her?
I saw her Thursday night. We went out downtown.
Okay. Where did you guys go?
I want to say it was Sly Fox. It's our usual bar that we go to.
Was it just you two?
Yeah, we were there, and my friend Alan was there as well, one of my best friends. So a lot of us like to go out to that bar. And
What's the name of the bar?
Sly Fox.
That's downtown?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
When's the last time you spoke to her?
I received a message from her at 5:12 a.m. on Saturday morning. That was are you talking about on the phone or via text message or anything?
On the phone or text message?
Yeah, text message. The last kind of back and forth we had was around 1 in the morning, but I got a message from her at 5:12 a.m. Just said my name, and then I responded about 16 minutes later, and I never heard back from her after that.
Okay. That was Saturday morning?
Mm-hmm.
Were there a series of texts?
Yes.
Okay, and when did that start?
Okay, let's see. And shout out to everyone coming in. Again, we have Sub Birdie. Thank you for stopping by. Diamond TV. Thank you for stopping by. Victoria. Thank you for stopping by. I truly appreciate it. Washu. I appreciate your commentary as always. Irv, Mr. 313P78. Guilty. Well, shout out to you. Thank you for stopping by, sir. I appreciate it. And Daniel, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. So I'm going off of the basis what they said earlier, right? Didn't they say that the security guard, with the last video that they had, the security guard going back to his station was around 5, I think what he said 5:50 or something like that. That was the last time they seen her. So you mean to tell me that he spoke to her via text or something around 5:12 in the morning? But she wasn't with the security guard at that time? So that I think that's weird, and I hope that they cross-reference that with the video, because if he's saying that he was in contact with her at that time, then maybe the security guard left and didn't, escort her to her apartment. Maybe he was there. He was there and he thought that everything was fine. And that's why the security guard walked back to his station. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that. So let's see. Let's see what he says. I hope they do cross-reference the video though.
Well, it started, late Friday night, early Saturday morning, around, midnight, 1 o'clock hour, somewhere around there.
Who texts to first?
I want to say she texted me first.
So she texted you late Friday night?
I could pull them up if that'd make it easier.
Yes, please.
Dave, you know this case? You heard of this case before?
So, yeah. I texted her at 12:44 a.m. saying hello. And she said I should come to meet her at Sidebar, which is one of her favorite bars over on, I think it's actually off Central and in Orange. She said to come to Sidebar now, and I said to come hang out over where I was. I was at a house with some friends, and then she said where. I gave her the address, and she said I'm at Sidebar. I said just come after. I'll pay for your Uber. Just come on over. Come on over. Let me know. And then she said Ben, and I said Sasha, you okay? And she said yes, of course. And that was right around 1 o'clock. And I said okay, we should come hang out whenever you're ready. And then that was the last I heard from her until 5:12 a.m.
Okay. Now you're looking at your cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind if we take a look at it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And if you pull from right to left,
Yeah, so there's the times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 12:44 about is where you say hey.
Yeah.
And then she says come to Sidebar. Were you guys talking? Was this the same night talking up here?
No, that was the day. I guess it was earlier that day, probably.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What's I'm sorry, LMK. What's that?
Oh,
let me know. Okay.
Why did you ask if she was okay?
Just because, she said my name and just my name, and that's not typical for her to just say Ben. Like, I want to make sure, and it's late, maybe she's been drinking, want to make sure if she needs a ride or something, I can, get her home safely if I can, but I checked on her just because that's what we do for each other.
PSF?
PSF was a nickname I had for her a long time ago.
Okay. So that's basically, you're referring to her?
Yeah.
Okay.
What does that stand for?
Princess Stickyfoot.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just, like I said, a nickname a long time ago.
Why did you tell her to check your Snapchat?
Oh, I sent her a picture. Yeah.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, that one was a hard one for me to swallow after I found out.
You ask her, are you alive? And me and Nick takes is sleeping, then PSF.
Yeah.
And then
Princess Stickyfoot.
the last thing, Ben, that I'm asking that we're asking all the guys who we're interviewing who knew.
It seems so,
Do you have
doesn't
any
it?
problem giving us a buccal swab?
I'm sorry?
A buccal swab?
Hi, Anthony. Thank you so much for the compliment. Thank you for stopping by.
No, not a problem.
Okay.
I'm just happy to help in any way I can. Like
We appreciate that.
We do appreciate it.
He provided his DNA, which also did not match the DNA found on Sasha, and therefore Ben was also eliminated as a suspect.
Kevin, isn't that
Since
a
the
cute
investigators
name, though?
could not
It really is a
locate
cute
any
name.
other
It
footage
says
of Sasha
Stinky
leaving
Foot.
the apartment
I don't know. I
complex
think
or
it's
speaking
cute.
with any other individuals inside the building, the next person interrogated was the security guard himself, Stephen Duxbury. Stephen's story seemed pretty on track with the footage that they had obtained. However, nearing the end of his shift, things started to become suspicious. Stephen stated that he left work at 6 a.m. However, he was still seen on surveillance at exactly 6:36 a.m. During this time, he is seen carrying 2 white garbage bags with red handles. These same garbage bags were also found in Sasha's apartment. On the first view, investigators skipped over this, as they had assumed that it may have been a part of Stephen's job to take out the trash before heading home. However, after speaking with the building manager, they were informed that Stephen was only supposed to contact the tenants regarding the garbage to ensure that it was disposed of properly. Though not admissible in court, investigators requested that Stephen take part in a polygraph test. Stephen did exactly that. They first asked Stephen some baseline questions to establish what his physiological response would be to questions that he knew his response would be truthful, and to questions that he knew his response would be a lie.
So, like I said before, instructions are very simple. Feet flat on the floor, sit straight up just like you're sitting. Relax. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, the test is about to begin. Please remain completely still and answer each question with a simple yes or no. All right? When I say that, no more moving until I tell you, okay, you now can relax.
Yeah, Barry, I'm 100% convinced it's the security guard now. I was really thinking that it was the last person that they interviewed, but since they did the DNA test and he never actually got a chance to link up with her, then that literally, cut him out. He exited him out. The security guard was the only person that was left with her, and then already he was already moving differently. He didn't leave the building until 6:36. His shift was over at 6 o'clock. He's taking out garbage, knowing that he doesn't have to take out garbage. He just warned the tenants to take out the garbage. So why are you now purposely taking out a garbage? And then the bags that you're using is literally the bags of the that was in the victim's home. It's not the bags that they have for your desk. So it's just like there's too much going on right now. So yeah, it's getting bad now.
I'll take the pressure off the cuff. Okay. All right.
They then pressed that they would be able to determine his guilt based on this test, regardless of its inadmissibility.
Definitely the polygraph is
it sounded
a
horrible.
good tool for you. You're definitely a capable reactor. I can see it. It works well. So this will be all right. Question for you though. Yes. What is your normal heart rate?
Well, Washu, actually, he was, right? The security guard was the first person to come in for questioning. But once he gave them something that seems quite normal, quite logical, and toxic tenant couldn't get in their home, you're helping them trying to find their keys, and some way, somehow you was able to, open up their door or use the master key that you're supposed to have as the security guard for that building to get them into their home, and then you left. That's very normal. So that's why they brushed it off and they just moved him to the side and started going towards ex-boyfriends and current relationships, because she died from strangulation, which is usually a very personal type of thing, right? So in their mind, they're not going to think that the security guard had some type of personal vendetta against this woman. But when you're dealing with someone who is on the lines of being a psychopath, obsession, right? We don't tend to take into consideration of how people obsess over people. Like, that's a part of limerence, right? You are in love with people or infatuated with people that you don't even know. You don't know nothing about them. You never talked to them. You never seen their family, nothing like that. But you just love this person, whatever you visualize or visualize about this person, you love them. So that type of obsession and not being able to control or have your type of obsession could give you the personal kind of factor of being betrayed, which will make someone try to strangulate you. But let's go on. And shout out to everyone in the chat. I truly appreciate it. Just make sure you're keeping the like buttons going up. It definitely helps the channel. Let's go on, guys.
I have no idea why. Is it high? Oh, yeah. High. Yeah, I've been noticing, was it like 130 or 140 or something like that? Yeah, it was like 138. Yeah, that's what they were getting towards the end of my career in the military. For a resting heart rate? Mm-hmm. Yep.
The way this test is administered requires Stephen to answer a series of questions multiple times. As mentioned at the beginning of this segment, this series of questions is made up of known truth questions, which are easy to answer and generally expected to prompt a truthful response. Control questions, which are expected to prompt a deceitful response, and relevant questions, which, as the name implies, are relevant to the investigation at hand.
All right, the test is about to begin. Please remain completely still and answer each question with a simple yes or no.
Thank you so much.
Do you know if Sasha was poisoned?
I appreciate it. And thank you for stopping by to the channel.
Was shot with a 22? No. Was stabbed? No. Was choked? No. Was shot with a 38? No. Was hit with a hammer? No. Was hit with a chair? No. All right, the test is almost complete. Please remain completely still while I take the instrument out of operation.
Salty Colonel, we can actually have that conversation one day. Just put it in the comment section and we can have that conversation.
Everything you said, I should just picture that. Well, we don't know if it was any of them. I know, but
yeah.
I'm asking specifically if you know. I know. Just I'm scared about it. Well, you know what? You can't be everywhere at once. Let's even look at it. We're being very specific here. All right. I'm sorry. It's okay. I get it, but it's very important for you to focus on the task at hand. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. She was.
I'm asking you very specifically if you know something.
And stuffed under her bed.
No, don't. Answer honestly. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, sir. That's the important thing. Yeah. All right. The test is about to begin. Please remain completely still and answer each question with a simple yes or no. Is your first name Stephen? Yes. Do you work for Vital Security? Yes. Did you enter Sasha's apartment that night? No. Do you now live in Port Orange? Yes. Do you know who caused Sasha's death? No. Before this year, did you ever threaten anyone with physical harm? No. Were you born in New Hampshire? Yes. Did you cause the death of Sasha? No. Did you remove any items from Sasha's apartment? No. Before last summer, have you ever lost control of your behavior because of your temper? No. All right, the test is almost complete. Please remain completely still. I take the instrument out of operation. Very well, this is all over. What we're going to do is we're going to do at least 2 more of those exact same tests, same questions, same answers, and just in case if there was any anomalies in the charts, I'll run an additional 1 or 2 because I basically need at least 3 good charts in order to score it properly for you. Okay. All right. Everything looking good though? Yeah. Everything's looking great. Excellent. All right. The test is about to begin. Please remain completely still and answer each question with a simple yes or no. Is your first name Stephen? Yes. Do you work for Vital Security? Yes. Did you enter Sasha's apartment that night? No. Do you now live in Port Orange? Yes. Do you know who caused Sasha's death? No. Before this year, did you ever threaten anyone?
I know this is really hard, right?
Were you born in New Hampshire?
Because,
yes.
Hold on, let me pause this.
Did you cause the death of Sasha?
You know, it's really hard in these situations, right? Because a lot of these situations, we know that in general, men cause a lot of violence, right? It doesn't matter if it's for women or for other men or even children. Men are the highest person who participate in violent acts. But it takes away for the fact that there are so many men who really don't want nothing happening to their loved ones. And it doesn't matter if it's a man, a woman, a kid, they just don't want nothing to happen to them. And it gets paint over for all men that all men are who thinks like that and are capable of doing that. And it's hard, right? It's really hard because people don't even think that a man will take it seriously if that was his daughter, or that was that was his mother or his aunt or something like that, because if they like, hey, if he do wrong to somebody else's mother and daughter and sister, then why would he really care that much about his mother, daughter, and sister? And in some facts, sometimes it's true, but most times it's not, right? Especially if you're close to your sister. Oh, hell no. Like, that's like how my brother would feel. My brother would like literally burn the town red if anything happened to any one of us, me and all my sisters. And my poor brother, he has 10 of them. So let's go on.
Sasha? No. Did you remove any items from Sasha's apartment? No. Before last summer, have you ever lost control of your behavior because of your temper? No. All right, the test is almost complete. Please remain completely still. I take the instrument out of operation. All right, if this one all goes as planned, I think this is the last one we need to do. Awesome. Good to go. Yep. All right, let's get this going. All right, the test is about to begin. Please remain completely still and answer each question with a simple yes or no. Is your first name Stephen? Yes. Do you work for Vital Security? Yes. Did you enter Sasha's apartment that night? No. Do you now live in Port Orange? Yes. Do you know who caused Sasha's death? No. Before this year, did you ever threaten anyone with physical harm?
Oh my God,
no.
Please call 911.
Were you born in New Hampshire? Yes. Did you cause the death of Sasha? No. Did you remove any items from Sasha's apartment? No.
Yes.
Before last summer, have you ever lost control of your behavior because of your temper?
He's not doing it all by himself.
All right, the test is almost complete. Please remain completely still. I'll take the instrument out of operation. Actually, Stephen, you've impressed me as a pretty intelligent person here today. What I need you to do is multiply 7 times 31. I need you to hurry up about how much time. Okay. 218. Okay. And you can relax. All right. So 31.7. Wow, I am bad at math. You're only one off. My wife would make so much fun of me for that.
Hi, Yan. Thank you so much. I don't think I look like Lauryn Hill, but I appreciate it. That's such a compliment.
This
She's
part
such a
of the video
woman.
is likely one of the most compelling moments in the entire case, as the man administering the test allows Stephen to point out his own lies.
All right. All right. Yes. Like I said, tired. All right, Stephen. Oh. hot mess of paper. So, and you don't see any of the questions on here, okay? So, looking down these questions, other than this, because I had to bring it down because you moved, what do you see that stands out to you? Okay, so this one, so it's always number 4, okay? And you pick that out yourself, okay? And you're not a registered or certified polygraph examiner, right? No. Okay. Right, but we're looking for the ones that just jump out at you. The biggest changes you see.
Yep.
Okay. And down here.
Hey, Flora dear, thank you for stopping by.
And kind of, I guess, this one too. Okay. Because it's in line and it goes up. Okay. So you're seeing that yourself, right? All right. So you said R3, R5, R8, R9. Okay. Whoa. Look at that. Something jump out of that at you? And that one, the line kind of goes up.
Hi, Noah. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you.
Huge, right? Jumps right out at you. Is there another one that jumps real way out there? Yeah, that one over there. Okay. Again, it goes over 1. Okay, all right.
Thank you, girl. Thank you for the compliment.
This one look bigger than this one? And bigger than that one? Yeah, a little bit, yeah. A little bit? No, I mean, yeah. I'm sorry, it's not as big as the other two. And you said R8's big, and not so much there. Okay, so we got R8, R5, R3. These are the numbers that you've been picking on all the charts, okay? So now, read the question to R3. Did you enter Sasha's apartment that night? Read R5. Do you know who caused Sasha's death? R8. Did you cause the death of Sasha? And R9. Did you remove any items from Sasha's apartment?
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. The mods here are wonderful. We respect people's opinion. You don't have to agree with me at all, but as long as you keep it cute and respectful, you are always welcome here. That's all we ask. Thank you so much. Where is this? This Shells, and thank you for dropping by. This has happened in Florida back in 2015. Robert, thank you for coming. He says, dudes don't like dinner. They don't like dinner? I thought dudes like dinner. I thought y'all like a good cooked meal. Thank you for coming by. I appreciate it.
Okay. So basically what you told me, okay, I let you look at the charts. I let you tell me what jumped out of the screen off the charts at you. Yeah. Correct? Yep. Right. So we were of the same opinion that the only thing that really seems to be bothering you on this test is these relevant questions that pertain to the situation that we're here dealing with. You need to be honest about it because this is saying you know something and that something happened. Now, let me show you another thing. One more thing. What's that say? Significant reactions. Probably this is what was produced by a truthful person. 0.003% chance that the result was produced by a truthful person. Damn. 0.003% chance that you were truthful on this test today. So not only did I have another polygraph examiner look at this, because what I did was I scored it and he scored it, and then we compared the scores, and they were identical. And now you have this also. So how do we get past that? That's the issue.
Yep.
I don't know. Hey, Dr. David, how you doing? Pretty good. Thanks. I was just showing you, this is the
Oh, you know it's a wrap once they start bringing in 2 more detectives. They about ready to put them cuffs on you. And the bad thing about it is they made him score his own test, and everything that he picked was him saying that the person who actually did the test was not being truthful. That's all the scores that they picked. That's crazy. But I see why they felt that they had to do that because, him being a security guard, we don't know how long he has some experience in law enforcement, him knowing how to say the right things, knowing how to answer the right questions or know the basic tactics, how detectives get people to tell on themselves. They had to be strategic with this. This is crazy. Wow. Yes, a 0.0003% true factor. Come on.
The computer scoring the charts. 0.003% chance that the results were produced by a truthful person. So that's basically 99.7% chance that he's being deceitful. Okay. So, now I'll let you guys talk. Are you okay, Steve? Well, not anymore. Based on what this thing is telling me. Steve, I've been doing this for a while. And I really don't think you're a bad person. I really don't. But sometimes good people do bad things. Listen, see, I will tell you this. I'm not saying Sasha was a bad person. But she was very flirtatious. Very. She wasn't flirting with me. I mean, other than,
So remember, guys, I told you the tactic that they're going to use, right? They always use the ego up tactic. Y'all can Google it and look for it yourself. The ego up tactic is to come in close into you like a prey and be very sympathetic to you and play on your ego. Oh, listen, you don't seem like a bad guy. You didn't seem like you really did this. She could have been real flirtatious. Anybody can make a mistake. You panic. And when you play on someone's ego, they're like, yeah, I'm not really that bad guy. I'm not that monster. And then they start to open up a little bit more. Barry says it's sad that this is so common now. Poor innocent women being abused and murdered. Yeah, it's sad all around, Barry, because it's not only just women, it's not only just children, it's men too, right? And it's the whole simple fact too that it's men who be actually getting set up by other men by also using women. It's just gotten really bad out here. Seriously, really, really bad out here.
leaning against me in the hallway because she could barely stand. She wasn't flirting with me. She never asked you to come inside the apartment? No. If she had asked me to come inside the apartment, I would have told her no.
What garbage did you take out that day?
Some trash I found on the way out after I turned in my report.
Where did you find it?
It was on the second floor.
On the second floor? Yeah. From what apartment?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Where was your car parked?
On the second floor.
Okay. We have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't report that, did you?
No, it was already after my shift was over.
But it's still a violation, right?
Mm-hmm. Now you guys are basically accusing me of doing something.
No, sir. Where is...
Yeah, Washu is definitely not going to be first degree because this was not premeditated at all. But the intent is still there, so he will most likely get a second degree murder or manslaughter. That's where they're going to go for if he is the found to be guilty. Let's see. Anthony said yes. Watch Law and Order. Right, Law and Order been around for like how long now? I think 50 years, going strong. I watch it still sometimes. Let's see. Shell's cleaning, and thank you for coming. A lot of men are being killed as well. This happens when yes, absolutely. I totally agree. Let's go on, guys.
Trying to understand why we're getting the reaction we're getting. Okay, that's it. Because we have to explain that.
It's on video where you're chasing her at one point. That's because she thought she'd be funny and starts running off.
Steven, I have an issue with something else too. I'm gonna tell you, and I have an issue with something. We've been doing this for a long time, and everybody that we've spoken to about this case has asked us several questions. What happened? How? When? You've never asked any of it.
No.
I don't understand.
I don't want to know.
Why not?
Because I don't want to find out if something happened on my shift that I could have prevented had I been around. And then that's going to eat away at me for the rest of my life.
What would that indicate to you? Possibly.
Someone who doesn't care.
Somebody knows.
And you think I know. She didn't invite me into her apartment. And if we're going to continue on this line of discussion, I think we're done here for now. And I'm going to go home. I'm going to take a nap.
You know what? That was a very good, important question that the detectives asked him. Throughout the whole entire time, even when they told him that something happened to her and he was the last person that she saw, he didn't ask when did it happen, what was the time frame, I left at such and such time. He didn't seem very concerned. And then he just said that he didn't want to know because he didn't want to know that something happened on his shift, right? Like, but why? Like, it's kind of like he's trying to play as in he will feel guilty if something happened on his shift. But why would you feel guilty if you literally was saw on video helping this woman so something would not happen to her? You know what I'm saying? So you would be like, I would be distraught. Like, oh my God, I know I walked this woman to, her car to get her keys so she wouldn't be by herself. I know I walked her to her door to make sure that she was good because I knew she was intoxicated. How can that happen? I just turned the corner and there's cameras, you know what I'm saying? So, for him to like literally he never asked those questions, he never worried about the whereabouts of her dying or anything, and then you're being the last person that was with her, that did raise red flags to me. I don't know if it raised red flags to anyone else, but it did to me. And shout out to Ghost Girl. Thank you for stopping by, ma'am. I appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and be safe. Let's go on.
I'm going to go to work. If you guys want to talk to me again some other time, we'll have a lawyer involved because at this point, I don't feel comfortable talking with you detectives.
Something interesting to note is that law enforcement had not yet released Sasha's cause of death publicly yet. However, during Steven's polygraph test, the needle also spiked when he asked if Sasha was choked. Steven was allowed to leave following this interview, while investigators continued to build their case. He eventually was arrested and charged based on the following evidence. Officers had taken pictures of Steven's arms on the morning after Sasha was found deceased. In these pictures, he had scratches that appeared as though they were from fingernails. Officers also searched Steven's home, and they found a shoe that appeared to perfectly match the shoe print found at the crime scene. Steven's fingerprints came back to match the prints on Sasha's toilet seat, and Steven's DNA came back to match the DNA found on Sasha's body. The surveillance footage making it fairly clear that Sasha's last interactions were with Steven and Steven's Google search history from early Saturday morning. Steven searched how to defeat a digital lock. Steven was charged with first-degree murder, attempted sexual battery with physical force, and burglary of a dwelling with assault and battery. Steven's trial began 2 years later on November.
Maz, can you do me a favor? Can you please drop down Cellulite Podcast channel in the chat for me? I would truly appreciate it. Shout out to you, bro. Thank you for stopping by. No, the DNA match was done, but it takes time. So I guess when they got it back, that's when they confirmed that his DNA was actually found on her body. This is crazy.
November 14th, 2017.
Stephen Duxbury's lawyers want the jury to believe some mystery man came into Sasha Samsudin's apartment 2 years ago and killed her. Good evening, I'm Greg Warman.
And I'm Martha Sagowski, and that means asking a jury to look past DNA and fingerprint evidence that investigators say placed Duxbury inside Sasha Samsudeen's apartment. Channel 9's Field Sutton has watched every minute of the testimony, and Field, the opening statements revealed a lot about this case.
And prosecutors went first. They gave that long list of scientific evidence you were just talking about, but the defense went after that, essentially asking the jury to believe that Orlando police missed the real killer in a rush to judgment. Late this afternoon, Stephen Duxbury's lawyer accused Orlando police of botching the investigation into who raped and murdered Sasha Samsudeen 2 years ago.
If you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. These officers immediately seized on Mr. Duxbury as a suspect.
In the face of fingerprints on the nightstand and toilet and Duxbury's DNA on the sheets, the defense raised questions about the victim.
She never explicitly took a guy home from the bar in front of me. She never did that.
Well, how would you know?
Samsudeen's ex-suitors and lovers took the stand, taking questions on cross-examination based on the theory that they should have been suspects too.
Did they take any buccal swabs inside your mouth?
No, sir.
Check for your DNA?
No, sir.
Did they roll your footprints, sir, to see if you had matching footprints going in that apartment?
No, sir.
Did they take your fingerprints, sir?
No, sir.
One of Samsudeen's best friends described the moment his worst fears came true.
Officer came downstairs and 2 or 3 of us just shook his head, informing us that she was passed.
Still, 2 years later, he says he can't believe the young woman's life ended with a murder trial.
I mean, I was pacing up and down the sidewalks crying. You know, all of us were trying to console each other because it was a shock.
After a long and grueling trial, based mainly on circumstantial evidence and very limited physical evidence, the jury came back with their verdict.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have been told that we have a verdict in this case. I do want to remind everyone that I recognize that this case is highly emotionally charged on both sides. I also recognize that this jury has spent 7 days with us and has worked very hard to render whatever verdict it is that they are rendering. Whether it is a verdict with which you agree or not, please know that I will not tolerate any emotional outbursts during the reading of the jury's verdict or while the jury is present. If you do not believe that you can control yourself, you need to excuse yourself from the courtroom at this time. And we will remain seated when the jury comes in. Let's bring the jury in. The verdicts are in proper form and read as follows. In the Circuit Court of the 9th Judicial Circuit, NM4, Orange County, Florida, case number 48-2015 CF 14380, Division 14, State of Florida Plaintiff versus Stephen Michael Duxbury, defendant. Verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment, and the killing was premeditated murder and felony murder. Verdict is to count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of attempted sexual battery with physical force as charged in the indictment. Verdict is to count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of burglary of a dwelling with an assault or battery as charged in the indictment. So say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on this 21st day of November 2017, signed by the foreperson.
Stephen Duxbury was sentenced to 2 life sentences for first-degree murder and rape, and an additional 15 years for burglary. He was once a man who vowed to protect the people and the facility in which he was employed, but now he is behind bars in order to protect those same people from him.
Ooh, what a touchy case. That is a really sad, touchy case. The nerve of that security guard to do that to that woman, and they're right. You know, he was put in a position where he was supposed to protect. That's what you was getting paid for. And you took advantage of that. You took advantage of the simple fact that this woman trusted you to do your job, trusted you that you took an oath to protect or to report if you've seen any, suspicious activity to protect the people in that building. And it really hurts my nerve because I was living in Florida at this time. I was living in Orlando at this time. There's still family members, that still live out there that could happen to, that I will have to worry about. Sisters, cousins and nieces and stuff who live in gated communities, who have security guards and front desk people. And then now it's just like, it puts people in a position where you feel like you cannot even trust people to even do their jobs, whether or not if they really don't care about you per se, but just to do their jobs correctly. And she moved in that gated community. She moved in the area where they had cameras and all that for the sense of protection. But it really shows that we really, no matter we give ourselves false protection or believe that we're protected, we're really not protected. That's what it just shows you. We're really not protected. Everything is just to make us more comfortable to do our daily habits. But truthfully, is there any real protection? There's not. It's really sad. But I'm glad that he got the time that he deserved, and prayers to that woman and her family, that in such a beautiful woman. And she's gone for no apparent reason. Not gone because someone wanted to take advantage of her and thought that they can get away with it and did everything in their powers to get away with it too. Makes me sad. Horrible. All right, so I have another one for you guys. This one is a case of a woman who was a mother of 6, and she was unalived for $14,000, and we're going to see the reason why. So if you're still here rocking out with me, please hit the like button. Subscribe, share this to anybody who likes these type of cases and like to dissect it for themselves. And let's go on. That one really hurt my feelings, but let's go on.
On November 7th, 1997, in the city of Sarasota, Florida, a 13-year-old girl dialed 911.
Hello? Hello? Hi, this is the 911 center. What's the matter? Oh my God. Okay, and what's going on? My mom. Your mom what? My mom is dead. Okay, what makes you think that? She's blood all over the place and she has a cut on her neck.
Keep doing that.
Then you can make her... No, just like cut. Okay, who else is in the house there? I have my brothers and sisters. How old are you? I'm 13. Okay, stay on the line. Are your brothers and sisters younger than you? 43 months. Okay, Stevie, we have help on the way, okay?
The name of the 13-year-old making this call is Stevie Lish. Stevie had just arrived home from school around 4:15 p.m., at which time she had found a trail of blood leading from the front door into the kitchen. Inside the kitchen, she found her 35-year-old mother lying in a pool of blood with her neck cut and what appeared to be a gunshot wound to her head. Not only was her mother's body and the floor of the kitchen covered in blood, Stevie's 4 younger half-siblings, which were all still toddlers, were found crawling through the house covered in their mother's blood as well, leaving baby-sized tracks in almost every room on the main floor. Although the toddlers seemed to be inside the house at the time that their mother was murdered, each child was found completely unharmed. Investigators from the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office were the first to respond to the Mark Ridge Road residence, a house which was home to the deceased, her 2 teenage daughters, and the 4 infant children. Retired Detective Sergeant Chris Iorio and retired Captain Ron Albritton secured the crime scene. Inside the garage, investigators found a towel with what appeared to be a bullet hole through it. This towel also contained gunshot residue. Investigators also located a bullet casing near the laundry machines, and while further searching this area, they discovered a thumbprint on the side of the dryer. When searching the area directly surrounding the body, detectives discovered a broken steak knife covered in blood, as well as a phone with blood on the handle. This led investigators to believe that the deceased was likely making an attempt to call for help before she collapsed. Her husband was then notified of what happened, and he arrived on the scene and greeted his 2 stepdaughters, as well as the 4 infant children. When officers asked him to provide a statement, his reply was, "I will talk to you once I have a lawyer." He then ceased all communication and stayed by his children. Something you may have been wondering, as I have yet to disclose, is the name of the deceased. This is because her name is one that may be recognized by avid gossip magazine consumers or even early reality TV enthusiasts, as just 2 years earlier, in 1995, she had become somewhat of a pop culture phenomenon, known as Sheila Bellish, the Quad Mom. You see, in 1995, after marrying her second husband, Jamie Bellish, Jamie and Sheila were doing their best to have children together. However, things were not working in their favor, and conceiving naturally was proving to be very difficult for the two. So, Sheila began fertility treatments, and before you know it, Sheila and Jamie were pregnant, with not just 1 or 2 children, but 4 all at once. When the local news caught wind of this miraculous sequence of events, they found Sheila's story fascinating, so they then launched Sheila and Jamie into the limelight, which is what eventually led to Sheila being labeled as the Quad Mom. Cameras and reporters checked in with them regularly, and several stories were publicized about the family. With this level of small-town fame, surrounding what appeared to be a kind and caring family residing in a middle-upper-class area of Sarasota, investigators and locals alike were all concerned as to what may have motivated somebody to commit this crime. Although some locals began to speculate that there may be a thrill killer on the loose, investigators quickly ruled that out based on the way that the crime scene was discovered. They suspected that this was more than likely the result of a targeted attack, perpetrated by an amateur hitman, based on the story that the injuries and the evidence told. Although Sheila was left in a fairly gruesome way, she was only shot once in the head, and the weapon used to cut her throat was left directly next to the body. And as it turns out, that knife was actually from Sheila's very own knife set. Detectives believed that the assailant likely used the towel as a makeshift silencer. However, after shooting the gun once, the towel jammed inside the weapon, causing the assailant to grab for the knife to finish the job. Once the assailant had believed that Sheila was going to die from her injuries, they left the house, closing the door behind them in order to keep the crawling babies inside. Basically, investigators felt that there was somebody from Sheila's life who harbored an intense hatred for her, or felt that their life would be much easier without her in it. After about 48 hours had passed, Jamie Bellish contacts the police, stating that he has now obtained an attorney and he would like to provide a statement.
Her ex-husband, he's very, very wealthy. He's got like 3 different cars, plays golf all the time, lives in an 8,000 square foot home. He very manipulative, he's very abusive. Is a company. During the final divorce, she was awarded 20% of that company, as well as $170,000 for pain and suffering, whatever, and civil damages. I assume he wasn't happy about that. As soon as she started collecting on the civil stuff, he claimed bankruptcy.
Jamie was quickly ruled out as he provided a very solid alibi, being 93 miles away in Fort Myers for work. Friends and family would also specify that Jamie was a stand-up guy that they did not believe would have any motive to murder the mother of his children. After ruling Jamie out, detectives did some research into Sheila's ex-husband, the wealthy entrepreneur who lives in San Antonio, Texas. This is Alan Blackthorne. Alan was known to be a financially successful man with very few genuine friendships. Even in business, Alan was known as somebody who was willing to be cutthroat and take legal risks. Alan and Sheila met in the early 80s in Topeka, Kansas. Together, they moved to San Antonio, where they had their 2 daughters, Stevie and Daryl. Since Alan was already wealthy by the time him and Sheila got together, it's been said that Sheila would mention to her friends that Alan always thought he was invincible. Until one day in the late 80s, when Alan got into a road rage-fueled confrontation with a biker. Alan then intentionally ran the biker over and left him with fatal injuries. Alan was then charged and went on to defend himself in court. Sheila testified for Alan, stating that Alan only hit the biker because they felt that the biker was going to hurt them if he didn't. The charges against Alan were dropped, and he continued living his self-proclaimed invincible lifestyle. However, during the years following the trial, friends of Sheila's started noticing bruises and other injuries on Sheila's body. So, eventually Sheila decided to leave Alan due to his abusive and controlling tendencies and file for divorce, seeking full custody of their daughters. Sheila then went on to meet Jamie while still in San Antonio. When the divorce was settled,
that's what I was thinking, Washu, right? Washu said, indeed strange to not wish to provide crucial details to investigators in the first 24 hours. Instead, he gets legal protection, which isn't very sympathetic to the deceased. I do agree with that. However, I will say that that man is very smart, right? And this is her husband. That was her husband, the one that she was actually currently married to. I think that the reason why he did that, even though it doesn't seem sympathetic at all to what happened to his wife or what his children had to endure, I think that he knows that if he gets into an emotional state, he might say something reckless or something will be taken out of context and is not going to actually help the police and detectives. So he did the right thing not to say anything, go get a lawyer, and when he is able to actually speak logically and simmer down his emotional connection to this, then he can give him that information, which a lot of people don't necessarily do, right? Because we're full of emotions. We want to just know what's going on. We want to provide whatever you want to provide. And then we also seen so many cases, especially the last cases that we dealt with, how people who were actually the ones who did the crime, they were so quick to give so much information and stuff like that, and just so they can move you to a different target and not focus on them. So I think that's so I don't want to take it as being too suspicious. I just think that he just wanted to do everything with a clear thought. They already cleared him. He was nowhere near the situation when this happened. Let's go on.
She was granted an approximate total of $1,170,000 to be paid to her by Alan. She was also granted full custody of their daughters, and her and Jamie moved to Sarasota, Florida together. After the move, they did their very best to keep the new address away from Alan Blackthorne. Anyways, regardless of the tumultuous relationship between Alan and Sheila, officers were unable to find a direct link between Alan and the murder of his ex-wife. So, investigators continued following the evidence and reached out to the public for any tips or assistance locating the perpetrator.
I'm 95 years old. It's the worst crime I ever heard in my life.
On the third day after the murder, they received a call from a local gas station employee that stated that on the afternoon of the murder, a strange man approached her asking her for directions to Mark Ridge Road. She pulled out a map and provided him with assistance, and he went on his way. Investigators.
Hi, Shauna. How you doing? She said, did she have something on ex-husband and biker accident? So far, if they leading with the bitter ex-husband, because once they got divorced, she got a lot of money, right? She got a lot of money, and she also got full custody of the kids. And when he was supposed to pay a certain amount, I guess, child support or whatever that, he filed bankruptcy for his businesses, right? Because he already had money into that marriage. That's so far what I'm getting at. This doesn't necessarily mean that he's the guilty party, but right now, since they're focusing on him as being the ex-husband, the knife being used and all this messiness, her trying to call 911 by seeing the blood print on the phone, that just lets you know that a lot of that was personal. And it was somewhat of a struggle. But thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you.
Then took this map and found another fingerprint on it, which seemed to match with the thumbprint that they found at the crime scene. On the fourth day, officers received another phone call from a local gardener named Jacob Mast, who was across the street from Sheila's home hours before she was found dead. This gardener stated that he noticed a strange man driving around Sheila's house, acting very suspicious. So he looked at the license plate and made up an acronym to help him remember the plate number. He then provided the plate number to the officers. Yes, Bob runs 62 girls. YBR62G. After running the tag, officers found that the vehicle belongs to a woman named Maria Del Toro, living in Texas. So, officers contacted Maria, and she says that she no longer uses the vehicle. However, her grandson, Joey Del Toro, still uses it. Now that the officers have the name of the man whose fingerprint was found at the crime scene, they were certain that they were closing in on the killer. However, locating Joey proved to be very difficult, as Joey had already fled to Mexico. So instead, they spoke to one of Joey's ex-girlfriends, who said, "If you can't find Joey, I suggest you speak to his cousin Sammy Gonzalez, as the two are very, very close." So that's exactly what they did.
Tell me what you know about this incident.
Apparently this has been built. It's supposed to be a beat her up. Supposed to be just a beating and nothing about the killing was supposed to be occurred. That and saw the news and that about the discussion.
Who committed this murder?
So sad. That total. Just want to get the truth out. I
Thank
feel
you, Carla. I
very
appreciate it.
sick by this.
Stopping by.
Said that he had shot her, but eventually I guess she was still moving or something like that. And in the application and
got a knife?
Yeah, I got a knife.
Initially, Sammy was stating that the plan was to strictly beat Sheila and leave. However, as the questioning continued, Sammy began to open up even more and express that a man named Danny Rocha had hired him to find somebody to beat Sheila and possibly even kill her.
At some point in time, Danny Rocha told Joey Del Toro that he might as well kill her.
He said that the best way to do it is just if you want to use 10 grand is to kill her.
You said before shoot her. Did that slip up, or is it possible he said kill her and shoot her?
Well, just kill her. You can say shoot her or just stab her or whatever.
Okay.
Not only did Sammy mention that Danny Rocha was arranging all of this, he even brought up another very familiar name. Sammy claimed that Sheila's ex-husband, Alan Blackthorne, was the one paying Danny to make all of these arrangements.
And getting back what Danny told you in reference to what Alan Blackthorne told him, it is your opinion that when he said beat her up real bad, where she wouldn't be able to keep the child, what did that mean to you?
To me, it meant like provide or to be assistant to the child. And unlikely the child will go back to Alan.
Okay, so beat her up.
Hey, Kevin.
Beat her up bad enough that she wouldn't be able to care for her child? Is that what it meant to you?
Correct.
As alluded to in the last part of that conversation, it became clear to investigators that this murder-for-hire plot was all coordinated as a desperate attempt by Alan to regain custody of his daughters. As it turns out, Sammy Gonzalez worked at a golf course that both Danny Rocha and Alan Blackthorne played at. The two played together quite often, and it's been said that Danny Rocha made a comfortable income gambling and hustling businessmen on the course. Since Danny didn't appear to have any real career aside from these hobbies, many have speculated that Danny was already making thousands of dollars hustling Alan on the course. So aside from making a few extra dollars by arranging a murder for Alan, it is very likely that Danny had sat through many hours of Alan complaining about and bashing his ex-wife. Anyway.
See, sometimes this is the problem, right? Because we don't want to say that everybody who has some wealth and something like that is corrupt. We all know that anybody can be corrupted. It doesn't matter how much money you have, you can be corrupted. But just look how this man took advantage of this other man, right? He come there to the club, the golf club. He wants to network. He wants to, rub elbows, get connection, probably get a couple little tips if he gets them their drinks early and stuff like that. And this man looked at him and said, you know what? I can give you another extra job. Let's talk about it. And he will put him in a position because he needs the money or he wants the money to take care of himself. And look what he did. Look what he did. It's sad. It's really sad that sometimes people, they use their power in that way. And it's so bad when, people fall for it too.
Anyways, at this point in the investigation, detectives finally had enough information to make an arrest. So they first arrest Danny Rocha with the hopes of him cracking under the pressure and providing them with a direct link to Alan Blackthorne. Unfortunately, Danny kept his lips sealed and claimed that he had zero involvement in the murder. Officers then charged Danny with conspiracy to commit murder. While Danny sat in the county jail, it became public knowledge that Alan Blackthorne was now the main focus of the investigation. So instead of lawyering up and keeping quiet, Alan participated in multiple news interviews proclaiming his innocence.
Turned on the news, and the announcer came on and said, Sarasota police say the ex-husband did it. The search is on for the ex-husband. At that point, I mean, not only are you just kind of dumbfounded, but Maureen said, you know what, we better get a lawyer. I went out of my way to make sure that I had little to no contact. I didn't want any contact. I had moved on with my life. Everybody has said, oh, why is he staying so quiet? Why didn't he talk to the media? Why didn't he do this? I mean, if I come out and talk to the media, am I sly and slick? Or if I stay quiet, am I shy and hiding? Guilty and hiding? She was my daughter's mother. I'd already given up my parental rights. Who did those girls have left? It's tough when you're guilty until proven innocent. Is a tough spot to be in.
And shout out to my brother Freezy. How are you, sir? Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. I truly, truly appreciate it. Moz, if you can do me a favor and please drop down No Freezy's channel for me, I truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you so much, Moz.
I pray no one else has to find themselves in that position. I think in the beginning, people couldn't help but think I was guilty. I've been pretty thoroughly investigated. I was thoroughly investigated in Florida.
Regardless of Alan's persistent public claims of innocence via several different news broadcasters, police were already confident that they were hot on his trail. Charges had now been placed against Sammy Gonzalez and Danny Rocha. Unfortunately, without Danny admitting to Alan's involvement, police were having a difficult time obtaining a warrant to arrest Alan. The other person that officers had yet to talk to and had hoped possessed a possible link to Alan was the triggerman Joey Del Toro, but Joey was still on the run.
The Eagle Pass police hoping Jose Luis Del Toro's photo, now splashed across newspapers, will eventually lead to his arrest. Mexican authorities are cooperating fully in their search for Del Toro, a 21-year-old drifter wanted for murdering Sheila Bellish in Sarasota, Florida, almost a week ago.
Until November 19th, about 5 days after Sammy and Danny were charged.
Hello. Joey, what were you doing? Florida? Joey.
Joey was finally arrested in Mexico. Although things were looking up, the battle that detectives faced now was getting Joey extradited back to the USA, which in some cases can take years. While they worked towards Joey's extradition, Danny started to get frustrated that he was sitting in jail, while Alan continued golfing almost every day.
Here, I'm trying to do the right thing, and I'm trying to make a deal, and you know, he's back here in San Antonio, playing golf 5 days a week.
Danny then agreed to provide a statement to officers regarding Alan's involvement. He did so while being hooked up to a polygraph machine. The story he told was very colorful. However, it appeared to be full of fabrications as he severely failed the polygraph test. In January of 1999, just over a year after the murder, Danny and Sammy were then convicted for their parts in the interstate conspiracy to commit murder.
See the jury find as follows as to count one of the charges. The defendant is guilty of principal to murder in the first degree.
Danny's constant choice to withhold information left him with a life sentence, whereas due to Sammy's immediate cooperation with authorities, he received a lighter sentence of 19 years. Unfortunately, investigators still had yet to arrest Alan, but that didn't mean that they had quit gathering evidence against him. They then had an epiphany. Since multiple parties were accusing Alan of at very least arranging to have his ex-wife injured, they had grounds to press charges based on something known as the Violence Against Women Act. Basically, this meant that if a spouse or ex-spouse traveled across state lines to commit some sort of abuse, authorities have the right to detain and press charges. So by linking Joey Del Toro's travel on the day of the murder back to Alan Blackthorne, officers could finally arrest and charge Alan as well. And that's exactly what they did. Alan was immediately charged with interstate domestic violence, before finally being charged with interstate conspiracy to commit murder on January 4th of the year 2000. almost exactly 1 full year after Danny and Sammy received their sentences. During Alan's trial, the prosecution laid out the evidence that was collected against Alan, which indicated that Alan was a bitter ex-husband that would do anything.
So this is kind of very alarming, right? Because they couldn't really even get him. Even when they got his associates, the ones who actually committed the crime against his ex-wife, they was able to not really touch them. And they had to literally get him in on a domestic violent case to actually get him charged on the murder. That's crazy, because what if that particular act wasn't established at that time? He would have got away with it because they already got the actual murders, but they couldn't get the person, they couldn't get the mastermind. That's very scary, really.
Anything to get his daughters back, including paying off 3 men $10,000 each to murder his ex-wife. Not only did they have Sammy Gonzalez's statements against him, but now they had Danny Rocha willing to testify against him as well. Danny would state that the plan was hatched by Alan in mid-July 1997, while the two were out golfing. The topic came up when Alan would constantly complain about how his ex-wife was abusive to his children, and she needed to be taught a lesson. It then escalated to him directly asking if Danny knew anybody that could do something like that, before finally getting to the point of saying, okay, well when it's done, maybe feed her to the alligators, insinuating that he wanted her beaten and then killed. In addition to the testimony provided by both accomplices, prosecutors also found a pattern in Alan's phone call history, which aligned with the narrative provided by Danny. At one point, in early 1997, Alan had convinced his daughter Daryl to tell the police that her mother was beating her. Daryl did so, which resulted in Sheila being arrested for a short period of time. Daryl later came to a realization of what happened and told the police that she wasn't abused, she was just disciplined because she had done something wrong. Daryl was aware that her father misled her into believing that a minor punishment could be constituted as abuse. Sheila was then released with no further issues. However, during the month of July 1997, while Alan was having these devious conversations with Danny, Alan was on a hunt to figure out Sheila's new address, and his phone call history was a clear indication of this. He even called the bail bond agency, attempting to maneuver the address from them. He was not aware that the phone call was being recorded.
You folks have a bond on a Sheila Billy?
I can't release that information. I don't know who you are.
Okay, what I'm trying to figure out is that, well, I'm somebody that bailed money to and they skipped out of state on me. I'm just trying to figure out where out of state that they run.
I don't know.
That would hurt a child.
This is true.
Although Alan was not able to get Sheila's address through these schemy attempts, he stooped even lower and manipulated his daughter Daryl into telling him where they lived, so he could visit them on Christmas. Daryl never heard from Alan again after that. Alan's phone records indicated that he clearly got the information he was looking for after speaking to Daryl, as his phone usage then slowed right back down and returned to normal. Alan's defense attorney went on to claim that Danny Rocha was a con man who not only relied on the money that he made from hustling businessmen at the golf course, but he also used information against these same businessmen. They stated that in this case, Danny knew that Alan was having trouble with his ex-wife, so Danny took the initiative and arranged this entire murder on his own. He was hoping that he would win over Alan's praise, and Alan would provide Danny with eternal financial stability. In July of 2000, Alan Blackthorne was convicted for interstate domestic violence and interstate conspiracy to commit murder. He was handed 2 life sentences to be served concurrently, without the possibility of parole. The same week that Alan was convicted, Joey Del Toro was extradited back to the United States and was finally ready to provide his statement.
I saw Sammy and we got into a golf cart and we went around the little ride and he told me that he had a job for me to do, was concerned beating up a person. I asked him, well, what did it pertain to, and she says, well, it pertains to somebody that beats up his or her children. He didn't specifically say her, but his or her children. And I go, oh, okay. I thought it was pertaining to something that was owed, something that was owed to Danny, because I thought the job was for Danny, but he said it was for somebody else. And I go, okay, so well, for who? And he says, well, I'm not supposed to tell you, but It's for that and had a black phone. I brought the money, 3,500. The words that I received were that it would be better if she was dead. Better for Blackthorn, and it would be better for you. They said you would get more money. Plus, he'll give you $10,000 when he receives his children.
Was there any mention of a firearm at that time?
I had mentioned the firearm. I said, because
This is you and,
me and Danny, because since they said that it would be better off for her to die, I asked him, well, how?
You said they, so Sammy was also saying you would be better at that time?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I said, well, how, And Sammy says, well, I guess shoot her. You shoot her and get it over with, It's easier. She won't scream or she won't do anything, whereas if you would beat her to death, you'd have problems.
Basically what you seen her doing with the kids was a loving and caring mother.
Yes, she was. She was a loving, caring mother. Actually, I didn't want to do it.
So this is my problem, right? Y'all saying now, after y'all all caught and y'all about to hit them life sentences, now is, oh, I didn't want to do it. She was a caring mom. I wasn't really, into this type of talk. Then why wasn't you being a man and saying, no, you're crazy, and let me go to the police and let them know that you're having conversations like that? Why not do that initially? Why take this route? And then now you want to have this whole guilt trip. Like, this is ridiculous. You really want me to believe that you didn't want to do it? You did it, sir. You left her gruesome around her 4 children, her 4 toddlers. They rolling around in their mother's blood and not realizing that something happened to their mom while she's laying there with a bullet hole in her head and her throat slit. You can't tell me that you're I don't know, like you have any sense of moral or humanity for you to even leave children in that state. Children, babies, toddlers. You really, really want me to believe that, oh, I didn't want to do it. You did it. So that means you wanted to do it. You just thought that the payout was going to be more than this woman's life. That's what it was. And then the guy, the ex-husband, he told you everything that you needed to do to feel like you was a vigilante and you was doing something righteous, right? She's a horrible woman. She tried to take my kids away from me. Then she tried to take my money away from me. She's just a despicable woman. She needs to be fed to the alligators and stuff like that. You got everything you needed to make you paint a biased picture on this woman that made you believe consciously that you can go ahead and do this type of act to this woman. Now all of a sudden, in hindsight, you talking about, I didn't want to do it and she's a great mom. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't care what the hell you say, sir. Absolutely not. That just ticked me off. I actually didn't want to do it. Get out of here. You're a grown man. You're not 12 years old. You're not 10 years old. Nobody forced your hand. You wanted to do it, and that's why you did it.
I didn't want to do it because, like I said in the courtroom, it wasn't me. And I'm going to say something, and that's probably the only thing that I'll say concerning what happened in the house. But I was about to leave when she noticed that the door was open. Because he had left the door open to the laundry room that goes into the garage. I left the door open, and she noticed it. And I saw her notice it. And I couldn't run, I couldn't do anything. And so, well,
Joey's statement only went on to further corroborate the narrative as provided by Sammy and Danny. He even confirmed the assumption regarding the towel being used as a makeshift silencer which caused the gun to jam. Virtually every piece of the puzzle had finally come together after speaking with Joey. After providing his confession, Judge Paul Logan sentenced Joey Del Toro to 2 consecutive life sentences in August of the year 2000. Alan Blackthorne spent several years locked up at the Beaumont Federal Penitentiary in Texas before being brutally attacked by a prison gang and being stabbed 13 times. He was then moved to the Terre Haute Penitentiary in Indiana, where he spent 4 more years before his sudden death on November 18, 2014. Alan Blackthorne's cause of death has never been released.
Ten News reporter Isabel Mascarenas has been covering this case since it first happened 22 years ago, and she explains why no one expected what happened in court today.
Danny Rocha walks into a Sarasota courtroom looking disappointed on a day that he had hoped a judge would throw out his life sentence and grant him a new trial, but instead,
We will be resting our case.
Rocha's attorney told Judge Hunter Carroll they would not be calling any witnesses. That included convicted killer Jose Del Toro. Last month, Rocha said in court, Del Toro signed an affidavit saying all Rocha did was give him Sheila Bellish's address. He never intended for him to enter the home.
Based on the affidavit, I was not involved in the burglary.
Del Toro is serving a life sentence, and so is Rocha, though he believed he had a chance to get out of jail.
And you understand, sir, that if you are not going to call Mr. Del Toro, you're not going to meet your burden of proof. Yes, sir. Your life sentence that you are challenging can remain.
The judge asked if he had been threatened or forced into this decision.
No, it's just based on a conversation I had with in the last 2 minutes with my attorney.
Rocha's attorney and family would not comment on the latest developments, but the assistant state attorney thinks Rocha realized he didn't have a case.
That was a hard one. That was a hard one for me. I didn't like all the excuses that the individuals were saying. How dare you even try to fight a case saying, well, all I did was just give the address. Well, sir, guess what? If you didn't give the address, then she could probably be alive today, right? That's a strong possibility that if you didn't give that address, she could be alive today. And then on top of that, don't even just say, oh, you just gave an address. You were sitting up there having conversation and cahoots with the ex-husband about unaliving this woman. That's why you reached out to Danny, but you made Danny do the actual, act, right? And then he fled. Like, y'all are all held accountable and serve the ex-husband right. Listen, I do not feel bad at all that he got the type of fate that he got. You know what I'm saying? Even though they don't know how he lost his life, I don't even care. If the jail system got him, the jail system got him. It is what it is, right? But yeah, serve him right. Is the nerve of these people, is the nerve of people like this. Don't sit up here and act like you have some moral fiber and all this stuff like that. And, oh, I didn't mean to do it and stuff. Like, you're not a child. You're not a child. Nobody forced you to do anything. You decided to do it. You decide to unalive this woman. And then even when you know that your nerve was getting pinched for what you was doing, you still went on with the deed. You didn't go call 911 after you did it and say, oh, crap, why am I doing this? It seems like this is a good mom. The money ain't worth it. You didn't do that. Let me call 911. No, you thought that you was doing this woman a favor after, slicing her throat and shooting her in her head. You thought that, well, you know what? Let me just close the door so her quadruplet babies don't go out in the street and get ran over by a car. That's the least I can do. Wow. Do you want a medal? You want a medal? How about you could have did the right thing and not harm this woman? It annoys me. That one really did annoy me right there. And for a little bit of money, look, $14,000. $14,000. You take somebody's life for $14,000. You really think that people's lives is so insignificant that $14,000 is nothing? And we've seen so many cases that people lose their lives for $2, $7, a quarter, all the stuff like that throughout the years. When are people going to start valuing life again? Like, seriously. All right, guys. So I have one more for you guys, and I'm going to let you good folks go ahead and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Like I said, please do me this favor. Just hit the like button, subscribe, and share the channel if you think anybody else like these type of cases that we can review and do commentary on. And I do appreciate everybody who's being active in the chat with me. Let's go on. This one that I have for you guys is when there was an unaliving, and it has to do with two brothers, and pretty much two brothers ends up turning on each other to save their own skin. So even, like I said, even being blood, when that heat comes on you, you don't know what some people, some people will turn. They will turn. So we're going to check this one out.
I'm sorry, Lord, that happened. But you know that I did not touch him. I still don't want to catch a charge for it.
In this video, we will be examining the case of the Lance brothers, a story of two siblings involved in a robbery gone gruesome. The outcome of their interrogations could mean life or death.
If you want to help yourself to avoid the death penalty, so be it. A death penalty. You charged with murder, son.
But before we can dive into these interrogations, we must first set the scene. On November 13th, 2015, at exactly 2:50 a.m., a man named Brooks Cantley dialed 911.
Anderson County 911, what's the location of your emergency?
Yes, come to McAllister Drive. My dad has been killed and his car has been stolen.
Okay, are you in the house with him?
Yes, I'm in the house with him. Please.
Okay, listen, can you tell me, is he still breathing?
He's not breathing. Not breathing. Oh my God. I'm so scared.
I know, I understand. Listen, I've got people coming to you to help you, okay?
His body is really, really hard and he's on fire.
I agree.
He's on fire?
Yes, he's on fire.
The caller was able to extinguish the flames, and deputies from the Anderson County Sheriff's Office were dispatched to 314 McAllister Drive, a farmhouse located a few miles east of Pendleton. They arrived at the scene and entered the residence. A thick smoke surrounded them, hindering their vision and ability to breathe as they made their way through the house. The place had been ransacked, with cabinets and drawers left open and items scattered everywhere. The deputies eventually found the source of the smoke that they were breathing in. In one of the rooms, the victim's body was still smoldering. The victim was 53-year-old Todd Cantley. It was determined that the cause of death was a skull fracture caused by blunt force trauma to the head, but the investigators could not locate the weapon used. However, there were multiple stab wounds to Todd's neck as well, and directly beside him was the knife that was likely used. As for the fire, it seemed that the killer had potentially used that same knife to puncture this can of lighter fluid. They then doused Todd in the lighter fluid, the flames resulting in second and third degree burns all over his body. Several items were missing from the Cantley residence, including an Xbox gaming console, multiple guitars, Todd's black BMW, and a .22 caliber rifle. A be on the lookout notice was put out for Todd's BMW, and the police began their search for suspects. However, they wouldn't need to search long. At 3:55 a.m., another 911 call rang in from a woman named Melanie Locklear.
Scanner services, that may help you?
Yeah.
My daughter, she's 16, and she came and let me upset because she said her boyfriend and his brother had killed somebody. Her boyfriend's name is Jacob Lance, and his brother is Ernie Lance, and she said that her boyfriend had hit him with a baseball bat, and his brother had cut the guy's throat. She's coming here crying because her and Jake have a baby together, and she didn't want me to tell anybody. Okay, ma'am, I do appreciate you calling.
and I'll get this to the right people.
A surveillance team was immediately assigned to keep an eye on Ernie and Jacob Lance. That same morning, Todd's BMW was found in the town of Iva, about 30 miles south of the crime scene. Whoever ditched the car here had also tried to burn it by stuffing a rag in the fuel filler and lighting it on fire. However, the rag was the only thing that burned. Following this discovery, SWAT teams were directed to move in on the Lance brothers. Just 10 hours after Todd Cantley was found murdered, Jacob and Ernie were apprehended at their homes and transported to a holding cell at the sheriff's office.
We have new information tonight about the murder of an Anderson County father found dead early this morning by his teenage son. 2 people have now been arrested.
11 hours after their investigation began, Anderson County deputies walked Oscar Ernest Lance and his brother Jacob into the sheriff's office for questioning in the murder of this 53-year-old father.
While executing a search warrant for Ernie's property, Todd's stolen items were found, including 5 guitars, an Xbox hidden inside a couch, and a .22 caliber rifle, which was wrapped in a sheet and hidden in the woods behind Ernie's home. This may have been enough to charge the Lance brothers with burglary, but there was still no sign of the murder weapon, and therefore nothing linking them directly to the murder. If authorities wanted to keep the Lance brothers behind bars, they would have to elicit a confession. It was up to lead detective Nathan Mitchell and Staff Sergeant Tracy Call to make.
I want to say kudos to the girlfriend's mom, right? She took that seriously. She was not playing. Once her daughter was disturbed about it because she's like, oh my God, I literally had a child with a son of a gun who would do that to someone. Instead of her mom just like brushing it off or whatever, not she said, "No, we're going to call 911. Yeah, they need to know all this information." Shout out to Mom Dukes for doing the right thing. I'm sorry, honey. I don't care if you love him. We're going to get him up out of here. But now the whole thing is they got to make it stick, because as of right now, even her calling to give that tip, and even though she knows a lot of details about what actually happened when the detectives found out what happened at the scene of the crime, it's still accusations. They have to get this confession from at least one of them, right? From at least one of them, so they can actually serve the time in jail. I don't know. That is Freezy, that it could be a possibility. They could be on drugs, but the simple fact that they robbed this man, that's what I just think that happened, really. They just seemed like they knew this man had some cool stuff in his house, and they went all for his cool stuff, and they only wanted to burn everything because they were figuring fingerprints or blood and stuff like that. That's why they tried to burn everything. That's the only reason why. They're not that smart. Because if they were that smart, they would have had all that evidence stuck right in their house. But let's go on. Yeah, Solar Mom, yeah, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, that is a great mom. She's like, nah, we getting up out of here. Absolutely not.
Make this happen. With Jacob only being 19 years old, 14 years younger than Ernie, they bet that he was more likely to break under the pressure, so they started with him.
Investigator Mitchell will be in here in just a second, okay? My name's Tracy Call. I'm one of the investigators from the sheriff's office, too. All right, freezing, man. Well, you know what? We freeze in the wintertime, and we sweat in the summertime. I don't understand the heating system of this building.
Sergeant Call's statement may be true, but keeping the interrogation room cold is a common tactic used to make the suspect physically uncomfortable. This discomfort typically pressures the suspect to become more cooperative. However, Jacob has a simple solution of his own.
Glad you ain't got me cuffed. Yeah, this is Nathan Mitchell, man.
That's the biggest fact right there, Anthony.
What am I here for? So right now I got you charged with murder and burglary. Yeah. Well, that's what we're talking about. If you don't have real evidence, then I shouldn't be locked up. If I don't have real evidence, you wouldn't be sitting right here. Well, I ain't done nothing. I wouldn't have stolen guitars at your house. I got them from somebody. Who'd you get them from? I ain't saying no names. I guess it's on you then, isn't it? How?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. I stolen evidence. I got it from somebody. Okay, give me the names. I ain't telling you that. What? He just told you sitting in here for murder, son, and you talk about you ain't gonna give up the names of the evidence of the person who lost his life, items, where you got it from. Come on now. I can't believe he did that. He was like, gosh.
You got it. It don't mean I killed somebody. It don't mean I ran up in somebody's house.
Where were you last night?
In my girlfriend.
All night.
Huh? See, I got a hell of a house.
Not really.
You don't. Hold on.
Jacob doesn't realize that the detectives have already spoken with his girlfriend, which is why he was arrested in the first place.
You left your girlfriend's house late last night. Before midnight. Before midnight? Before midnight. You can't ask my girlfriend that. I have.
Do you realize we've talked to a lot of people, right? What they've told us has been fruitful.
The detectives are dismantling Jacob's defenses one by one.
Goodness.
They apply even more pressure by calling Jacob out on his lies.
Really?
So why don't you just quit telling the damn lies and let's talk about what really happened? Where'd you go last night
I
when you
don't
left
know how to be
girlfriend's house?
quiet, Danny. Shout out to you for coming back. I appreciate
To my
you.
brothers, we drank some beer. And then what? Chill.
And?
Drank more.
Well, let's talk about the trip to Ida then. Well, what time there did you get the BMW?
The BMW.
That didn't burn.
What BMW?
Jacob is just now realizing that any evidence left in Todd's BMW was not successfully burned. If Jacob still isn't concerned, what the detectives say next will undoubtedly change that.
You know, I don't care if you tell us what happened or not. I can prove what all happened last night without you telling me. Okay? I ain't got time sitting here listening to a whole bunch of bullshit and lies.
This is a courtesy to you.
If you want to help yourself to avoid the death penalty, so be it. A death penalty. Death penalty. You charged with murder, son. It have nothing to do with the shit. Who? Me. Okay, well help me prove that.
I agree.
The problem is, you ain't got nothing. I was a driver. I wasn't an accessory to anything. You was a driver. The driver for what? Did you get my brother Ernie's statement? Add it up. I'm here talking about you. If you can't be man enough to say what you did or didn't do, we ain't talking about anybody else.
This response from Detective Mitchell is intentionally ambiguous, as he is trying to make Jacob worry about whether or not they have talked to Ernie yet. Cracks in Jacob's mental fortitude begin to show as the detectives keep chipping away.
You can take the coward out right all you want to, but I'm trying to see your little girl. I don't want to be not sitting in here, you ain't. How the hell do I get out of here? Tell the truth. Tell what happened. You know you won't tell us.
At this point, you need to think about you and that child.
Jacob tries to negotiate a deal for any information he will provide, but the detectives can't promise anything. They tell him that they believe it is in his best interest to tell the truth if he wants the prosecution to go easy on him.
So that's a very good tactic, right? Make it seem like you already spoke to the other person. They don't know what they said, but they're alluding to that they said something that can pretty much affect him, or, you know, they took a plea deal and they gave him up. So once he started getting uncomfortable about that, because he doesn't necessarily know whether or not if they talked to them or what was said, or if that person gave him up, then they will start to break first, thinking that they was already betrayed anyway. So it's right now is all man, all man for themselves. And as we see it, it doesn't even matter if you're actually blood brothers. That situation still happens. Let's go on.
So yeah, I said we Brooks. He said that I ripped him off, and his dad is damn drunk, and he's threatening to shoot up my mom's house once. I felt like my mom's life was in danger. I went and I was hanging out with Ernie. We drank a couple beers. He was like, man, I need some money. I'm down on child support. Went to Brooks' house. We go in. Ernie's like, oh man, I want this TV. I want this gun. I want all this shit. He wanted to take care of Brooks' dad because he's been threatening our mom. We walked in and opened the door.
I agree. It could be a possibility.
Dad looks at me, grabbed his pistol, and my brother said, what the fuck are you gonna do to my mom? Just started beating the shit out of him with that. Where'd the bat come from?
It was my papa's bat.
So you started beating him with the bat?
Yeah. And then Bruce's dad's just like laying on the table like this.
Yeah.
And then like he's just like choking on his own blood. And he says, "Get out." And I said, "Okay." And I already took his knife, stabbed him one time right here, one time right here. So,
Jacob just said he was in the car while Ernie stabbed Todd in the throat. Yet, he knew the exact location of the wounds and even reenacted the movements. How could Jacob not only describe, but also reenact something he didn't see in the first place? Were these really his brother's actions? Not only that, but the way Jacob described this sequence of events offloads all responsibility onto Ernie. He even says that Ernie was the one who beat Todd with a bat and stabbed him in the neck. But this directly contradicts what his girlfriend Alyssa told her mom.
And she said that her boyfriend had hit him with a baseball bat and his brother had cut the guy's throat.
The detectives picked up on these red flags and took everything Jacob said with a grain of salt as they continued their questioning.
and he also told me he'd set him on fire.
Where were you at when you did that?
In the car. Because he told me to get it out.
Did you see the fire?
Was he really set him on fire? How bad? What did he look like? Show me a picture.
I didn't take no pictures. Why would you want to see a picture of that?
I was just kidding. That was a joke. But anyways, what were we talking about again? I just said, oh, I got the keys to this motherfucker's car. I'm on driving to make the cops think it was a robbery and lead them off.
Where's the bat?
He chomped it somewhere the moment we dumped the car.
Where you dumped the car?
Back in the ponds.
In the pond.
Ponds.
How far down in the pond can you
Thankfully.
I didn't tell
They're
him
not
that
so
I was
smart.
in the car, so I wouldn't know.
How do you know he put the bat in the trees?
Because he didn't have it when he got back in the car.
Notice how Jacob is engaged in the dialogue and making direct eye contact with the detectives while giving details about the whereabouts of the bat. Then, the next moment, Jacob realizes he is volunteering too much information. Suddenly, his demeanor changes and he begins to backtrack. His body language now shows clear signs of nervousness. His legs are shaking as he picks at his face and avoids eye contact.
Yeah, I noticed that too. You know, when he wanted to rat on his brother and say that his brother was the mastermind of everything, his brother needed the money and all the stuff, his brother wanted the TV, the Xbox, and all the stuff like that, he was more engaged. And then now, when he's saying the story and he's trying to paint it as he wasn't there, he wasn't in the house, he was just the getaway car, is not adding up to how much information in detail he know about what happened to this man, where his wounds are, and whether or not he got burnt. It's just too much information now. So now he's like, oh snap. Yeah, let me just sit back and start having that, dumbfounded look, like I don't know.
He then quickly changes the topic with a question.
So I'm still facing life?
You're charged with murder and burglary first right now.
All I did was drive. I shouldn't be charged with murder.
But you was there. You could have stopped it.
I didn't know.
Let me ask a question. Any times you call 911?
Why would I call 911 on my brother? Would you call 911 on your brother?
If he killed somebody? To avoid a murder charge? Probably. Yes. You can't tell me you didn't have any interest in it. You wanted to see him get hit for what he's been saying about your mom and the family. Just like you asking about a picture of him being burnt. That interests you. Am I wrong? If I'm wrong, say I'm wrong.
Look at his body language, guys. Look, he's on the defense now. Now he wants to be quiet because the detective is picking at his character. He knows that you got a kick off of seeing that man get blunt hit in the head with a baseball and start gargling under his own blood. You felt joy in seeing him gurgle when you was stabbing him with a knife and stuff like that. And you also wanted a picture of it like some type of trophy situation. So now when he's calling things out about his character and he doesn't like to look in the mirror about the things that he enjoys, Now he wants to sit back with his arms closed and try to put a wall up now. Because he's mad that the detectives see right through him. They see him for who he is. He's one of those kids that will put a dynamite on strap a dynamite to the back of a cat's tail and watch him run around the street trying to get it off until he blows up. He gets kicks out of stuff like this. Let's go on.
I don't know. Everything I just told you is all bullshit.
Huh?
Everything, that's all lies.
What you just said about him hitting him and all?
No, I just made a bunch of bullshit to throw you off.
So what's the truth? What's the truth then?
I'm done answering questions. Take me back downstairs.
Okay. That's why you want to do it?
I know. Pucker up, buttercup.
Jacob left the interrogation feeling ripped off, while the detectives left with the jackpot. However, they weren't celebrating just yet. There was still one more suspect to speak with. 9 minutes after wrapping things up with Jacob, Ernie is now in the hot seat. He is much older than Jacob, and the detectives expect this to reflect in how he behaves under pressure. Clearly, the two respond to the cold the same way, but they respond to the detectives completely differently.
Look, I don't have to hide. I'm going to cooperate with you because y'all come through my door and there's like 15 of y'all bad boys there. Mm-hmm. And who going to be dumb enough to run? I'm like, I just want a cup of coffee. But anyways, you said it was about burglary.
Yeah, burglary's part of it. Let's start with where you was at last night.
Jake taught me to go out and get some beer. I ain't going to lie, I bought him a beer. He's underage.
Right.
7-Eleven.
Let me answer this real quick and I'll be right back. I'm going to check on that Constantine. Okay, be right back.
I'm not gonna run. You don't have to lock the door, bud.
Ernie is left alone for a few minutes. During this, he vocalizes a few of his thoughts.
Y'all ain't gotta keep it so damn cold. You know where I was at, Lord. You know where I was at. Why do you keep walking off? But y'all sit here and tell me something.
Eventually, the detectives re-enter the room and pick up right where they left off.
And you went to the 7-Eleven by your house?
Yeah, by my house.
Well, the good thing is these stores nowadays all have videos.
Cool. That's why I'm telling y'all this. That's why I'm giving y'all numbers. I told you from the minute y'all locked me up, I will cooperate. I mean, just keep asking, I'll answer. I'm here to cooperate.
Tell me about the BMW last night. Let's see where you go with that. The BMW from Todd's house, where did it go?
Who's Todd, first off? No bullshit. Who's Todd?
The guy that's been threatening to shoot up Jacob and your mama and the family's house. And
I know what you're talking about now. Mm-hmm. He texted Jacob the other day, talking about Jacob ripped him off on like a gram and a half allowed. I wouldn't have jumped in that bullshit. But I don't know Jake to do nothing like that.
To rip him off or?
To do shit, bro. My brother's a pussy. Jake is not the type to go busty and gung-ho. He's not made that way. I'm not made that way.
Ernie seems to think that he knows what kind of person his brother is. Detective Mitchell takes this opportunity to plant the seed that perhaps Jacob is more devious than Ernie thinks.
Did Jake throw you under the bus? To help himself?
Hell, I don't know. I didn't do nothing. He can throw me all up under anything he wants to.
So he wouldn't throw you under the bus? He wouldn't sit right there in that seat and say, it wasn't me, it was Ernie. Why would he throw you under the bus?
I don't think he threw me under the bus. How did Jake and Ernie get brought into it? It's my whole thing.
Well, Todd's house got robbed. Robbed him of a bunch of guitars, a TV, Xbox, stuff like that. And while there, decided to beat his head in with a baseball bat.
What?
And as if that wasn't good enough.
You accusing me of this?
I'm not accusing you. Jake's sitting right there saying, I didn't do it, Ernie did. You willing to take a lie detector?
A lie detector. I trust you. Look, I trust that lie detector like I trust you, boss.
This lack of trust would explain why Ernie repeatedly ignores the detectives when they say that Jacob ratted him out.
If y'all got the Ernie and Jake show going on, y'all do y'all thing, man. And I ain't trying to be a smart ass, but I'll answer everything you want. But when you brought that hurting a man,
I just hurt him, killed him. He's dead.
I wouldn't do that. That's one sin you cannot pass. And that is something serious to me. I don't know what you want me to say, because I'm not going to admit nothing I didn't do.
Ernie clearly trusts Jacob more than the detectives, but they have an ace up their sleeve that might just turn the tables. They exit the room to get what they need, leaving Ernie alone yet again.
I'll check on something right quick.
Okay. Be right back. Yes, sir. I'm not going far. Oh, I wish I would put some deodorant on too, because my arms is kicking. Lord, do you know where I was? God damn, know where I was. I've got way too much to lose for little shit like this. You know the truth. That's all that matters to me, Lord.
So that is a tactic that someone who's trying to manipulate the situation do. They'll say things like that because they're trying to convince themselves that they're innocent. They're trying to convince themselves that they did nothing wrong. And they know that everything in that office is being recorded, right? So they're expecting them to take that into consideration, right? Him having a conversation with himself or having a conversation with the higher power, right? The simple fact is that he do trust his brother way more than he should, right? He didn't think that his brother was going to literally just throw him under the bus. And you seen how when he was talking about his brother, he was like, nah, my brother wouldn't do nothing like that. He's a little punk and all the stuff like that. And I know I ain't do anything like that. You know, I know this will make him look like maybe he wasn't the actor, like the initiator of this whole plot. But to me, it's giving off you really set this thing in motion, and your little brother is just a freaking follower. Let's go on. A follower with a sadistic kink. Let's go on.
Lord, just take me back. Let me get me some lunch. Put me in change or something. Did not kill nobody. Why would I do that? Well, reason I got to burglarize when I'm sitting here making barely just enough money to survive. Tell me why. Yeah, you got a million motherfuckers saying the same thing. But I'm not them. I'm me. And I'm sitting here, and you're behind the glass. I'm going to jump in the show, because I told you mine. I want somebody to come here so I can talk to them. So what you wanted me to do, finish the go copy out. So I had to piss and be uncomfortable again. Can you come back in here now?
This question is answered when the detectives re-enter the room, this time with the last thing Ernie expected.
You still don't think he sold you out?
Went to Brooks' house. We go in. Ernie's like, oh man, I want this TV, I want this gun, I want all this shit.
This is part of the damn interview where he goes,
Let me hear it. He wanted to take care of Brooks' dad because he's been threatening him.
He said, I said that? So he's saying, I want to take care of him?
Ernie says, get out. And I said, okay. And Ernie took his knife, stabbed him one time right here, one time right here. Just there.
ain't gonna make shit up.
I had a feeling you would. You ready for my statement?
Finally accepting that he was betrayed by his brother, Ernie seems to have a newfound urge to tell.
Look how quick he changed. The flip up was crazy. Did you guys see his face? He was like, oh, I like, he didn't want to know. He didn't even have to do the back and forth jargon with the detectives anymore after seeing that video. This man was like, y'all ready for my statement? Because he's like, oh no, I can't believe it. He is shocked. He is floored. He could not believe it at all. And that kind of goes into the dynamics of their relationship, right? It seems like he has always been in control of his younger brother. He has always gotten his younger brother to go along with all his plans and things of that sort, and he felt that his brother was a little weakling. Remember, he said earlier that his brother was a punk. He called him a ussy, right? So that lets me know how he doesn't think of his brother as smart or can fend for himself or can think for himself. So he's always had a controlling hand over his brother. So it completely caught him off guard when his brother was like, I am not going to be the sacrificial lamb for Ernie. No. Yeah, he did it and I was just outside. This is crazy. Let's go on. Yeah, he is ready to swing like R. Kelly now. He about to tell it everything. Get in the closet. Like, seriously, wow.
Tell his side of the story.
I'll tell you something. He brought that shit up about I hit that man. No, this is the God honest truth I'm telling you now. I helped pack that stuff up for him. About that fucking time, he's like, let's go do this. He had my papa's Louisville Slugger. He gets the fucking bat, goes up in the fucking, goes to busting door. I said, no, Jake, we're done. We're done. I swear to God, I sat there and I looked at him. I said, Jake, we got the stuff. Jake pops the door up and that dude said, you need to get the fuck out of my house. And Jacob starts wailing. All I could do was pull on him, man. I don't know if he still got a mark on his neck or not, but I was trying to pull him. Stop. Stop. I don't want to rat my little brother out.
He threw you under the bus.
That's why I played hard, because that's what you're supposed to do, right?
But I don't know. I wouldn't go down for my brother.
Yeah.
I'm not after seeing that bullshit.
Where's the bat?
Huh?
The bat.
I don't know where the bat is.
Well, he said you threw the bat where the car got burned.
Sure.
I done everything.
You ain't lying.
You set the man on fire.
I didn't see no man on fire. Are you for real?
Yes.
It gets worse?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I didn't set him on fire.
That's why he had two.
Jake was in there for a couple more minutes. But when we was pulling our driveway, I didn't see no fire or nothing.
Yeah, he set him on fire. Doused him up. He said you did.
Well, it sounds like to me he wasn't up the fucking getaway driver out of that video. You know what I mean?
That's what he tried to say. That's what he tells us.
I want to ask him, out of all the times I had your back, out of all the times you needed me, where the you at? If that little ass muncher gets off on this bullshit after all his mastermind.
He ain't getting off on it. Handle one, handle all. Just like if me and him go to rob a liquor store. I'm driving, he robbing, I get charged. Handle one, handle all.
The interview wraps up and Ernie breaks down as the detectives leave the room. After regaining his composure, he has one more thing to say before the detectives take him away.
I'm sorry, Lord, that happened. But you know that I did not touch him. And I still don't have to catch him charged for it.
Following their interrogations, both Jacob and Ernie were charged with burglary, arson, and murder. But investigators still didn't have the murder weapon, so they monitored the brothers' jailhouse phone calls, hoping for more clues. Just one day later, Jacob made this call to his girlfriend, Alyssa.
There's a collect call from Jacob Ware, an inmate at Anderson County Jail.
They're trying to charge me for murder. I didn't murder his day. I didn't touch him.
Who did, Jacob?
Ernie didn't. He kept hitting him and then he stabbed him in the throat. And then...
Ernie hit him with a baseball bat?
Yeah, and then he set him on fire.
Jacob, where's the baseball bat at?
In the woods behind Ernie's.
With this bombshell information, a team of investigators thoroughly searched the woods behind Ernie's property. Lo and behold, the murder weapon was finally found. During the legal proceedings, Ernie refused to look at his brother. Both of them were denied bond. After several months behind bars, neither of them would take responsibility for killing Todd. They both ended up taking a plea deal, reducing their murder charges to manslaughter. They each received a sentence of 30 years in prison for manslaughter and burglary, with an additional 15 years for arson. As of January 2025, Ernie resides in the Turbeville Correctional Institute. He has 0 bad behavior write-ups on his record and is currently earning work credits as a horticulturist. As for Jacob, he resides in the Kershaw Correctional Institution. On top of being terminated from several jobs over the years, he has also had several disciplinary sanctions for possessing contraband cell phones, which he used to receive inappropriate illegal videos and photos.
So that one was crazy, right? That one was really, really crazy. The trip up, the betrayal of the brothers, actually blood brothers. Even though we're laughing at the fact that, how they quickly, set each other up and everything, the whole situation in totality is not a laughing matter, right? This man was beaten in his own home, stolen, his property stolen, and he was set on fire. And at the end of the day, it doesn't look like any of that happened to him when it came down to him threatening his mom or anything, all the lies that they told. It seemed that these men were on drugs. These men did not have money, and they knew that this particular guy in the neighborhood has some stuff, and they went in and wanted to take his stuff. And it's, like I said, it's never a good thing when someone lose their life over stupidness like this. But it was very interesting to see how the older brother completely changed when he realized that his younger brother threw him under the bus completely. But like I said, it talks about the dynamics of that family relationship between them, right? Ernie always used to control everything, and the little brother used to always do whatever he wants, or he couldn't stand up to Ernie. And then I see also a touch of Ernie feeling responsible for his brother too, right? Like trying to get him, like, if he goes too far, trying to make him stop, but not being able to control him, right? I see that type of dynamics in it. I personally believe that 30 years was not long enough for what they did to that man. I think that they should have gotten more, but however, they both took a plea deal. They both told the information that the detectives needed to actually have a concrete case. That's why it was dropped down to manslaughter. And then you also see the behavior while they're in prison. The older brother, squeaky clean, he's trying to hurry up and get the hell up out of here. Okay, he's trying to get up out of here, do his time, and go and start his life. Whereas the younger brother, you see that he has a behavioral problem and probably will stay in prison longer than what he's expected to stay in. But those are really, really, that was a really interesting case, especially something very current, because they told you it's 2025 and they told you the status of these two individuals going forward. Yeah, but I want to say thank you so much, guys, for rocking out with me for as long as you have. Y'all could have been anywhere, but y'all was rocking out with me on a Friday night. I can't believe it. And again, shout out to everyone in the chat who've been participating and commenting. Like I said, I love good commentary. It doesn't matter if you agree with me or not, but the simple fact, if we keep it cute, respectful, and you share your thoughts, is always a good time with all of you here. And I will see you guys on Sunday. Sunday, I will be coming back live with some more cases for you guys. I hope that y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy it. Be safe. Please hit the like button on your way out. Share the content, if you think anybody is interested in it. And I just really, really just say I appreciate all of y'all. I really do. And y'all take care of yourself and be safe out here, right? I'll talk to you later. As always, bye-bye.